I'm excited physically. I love coming to class. Just reinvigorated my spiritual life.
I'm John Nyhoff, president of Wesley Biblical Seminary. Come and be a part of our community.
Apply today at wbs.edu. Wesley Biblical Seminary. Discover the difference.
I feel so hopeless.
Is there any hope? I just feel like there's no hope at all.
Is there any hope?
Get hope.
I tend to live in the future, and by the time tomorrow becomes today, it's past history to me.
That's TWR President Lauren Libby.
1 month, 3 months, 6 months from now seem as real as today. In reality, we only have today as a true reality. James from the Bible and the Message Bible reminds me, now you don't know the first thing about tomorrow. You're nothing but a wisp of fog, catching a brief bit of sun before disappearing. I wrote in my journal, am I living in such a way that I'm expectantly capturing all the wonderful opportunities that Jesus brings along today? Let's capture the right now moments that Jesus gives to us. They give us immediate hope.
Need more hope? We have resources waiting for you, including a free devotional. You'll find them at gethoperadio.com. That's gethoperadio.com.
Here's Steve Tiber, president of 8 Days of Hope.
The fastest growing crime in America and across the world is sex trafficking. We're talking about millions of lives, even children. Did you know the average age of a child who's trafficked in America is 12 years old? 8 Days of Hope has decided to be a part of the solution with the body of Christ around the country. It's amazing to think that there's 13,000 animal shelters in our country, and that's a good thing, but there's less than 1,000 safe places for people who've been rescued from sex trafficking to go to. I know it's not a fun subject to talk about, but God has called the church to take its blinders off and end this human tragedy. At 8 Days of Hope, we're going to partner with an existing ministry, and for 14 days, we'll bring skilled volunteer professionals to renovate, rebuild, or remodel facility so that more can be rescued and receive the emotional, physical, and spiritual help they need. For more information on how you can get involved with our Safe House construction ministry, please email us at safehouse@8daysofhope.com or go to our website, 8daysofhope.com.
This is Viewpoints with Kirby Anderson.
Why are food prices so high, especially in places where there are few or no grocery stores? Philip Longman tackles this economic problem in his article, Everyday High Prices. He begins with a story of the only supermarket serving an Indian reservation in South Dakota. It looks like any other grocery store with clean floors and well-stocked shelves and an abundance of fruits and vegetables. This is in a community that faces extreme poverty. They don't own cars, and the nearest grocery store is nearly 40 miles away. The grocery store must pay higher wholesale prices.
America's godly heritage, what are the repercussions of losing that? Well, hi, Alex McFarland here. Welcome to the Hamilton Corner. I've got the privilege of sitting in for Abe Hamilton tonight, and I want to throw out a question. What is the relationship between the sexualization of children and the elimination of women? Now, doesn't that sound ironic that I would even ask those two things? We're living in a time, I think anybody would recognize this, that we are being hyper-sexualized. I was in a major retailer. Well, I'll just say it was a Target. This is about a year ago. And I generally don't shop at Target, but I was on the road and there was really nowhere else to go. And I'm not even going to repeat what I saw on some of the T-shirts in the youth. I mean, these were like middle school girls' clothes that I was walking past, and it was just unrepeatably inappropriate. And we're living in a time where there is so much just brazenly in everybody's face about sex, now about transgenderism, and it ultimately, especially the sexualization of little girls and the imposition of transgenderism on young people. Oddly enough, there's an ironic fallout of this, the elimination of women. Now, I'll explain later on, but I've got a guest that I want to bring on in a moment, Mary Bawden, that we interviewed about a year ago at NRB, and it's the subject that we talked about then, and I'll get an update now, is about the sexualized harm that's being done to little girls. But even as we queue up for this. And later on in the program, I'll take calls. The number is 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. We'll get to calls in just a little bit. I want to bring up a story here. Well, there's several. You just don't know where to jump in, really. But in a YMCA in Ohio, and the headline says this: trans woman faces indecent exposure charge. Now, first of all, you've got to understand that in the media, if you see the phrase trans woman, that doesn't mean a woman. What it means is a man that identifies as a woman, dresses in women's clothes. By the way, 2 weeks ago today, I was in New York City to do Fox News and the Eric Metaxas program, walking from Fox News walked about 20 blocks, which is not as far as it sounds. It was a beautiful day, good exercise. But I passed two different males dressed as women. And, you know, the transgender woman, it always seems to be a male dressing as a woman. And, you know, whether it be Caitlyn Jenner that we've all seen on television to maybe others in large cities, you know, it's easily identifiable as a man. You don't see a woman generally, you know, going out in public trying to look like a man in a three-piece suit with a tie or something like that. But in the media, when you see trans woman, like in Ohio, it says Darren Giles, 31 years old, charged with 3 counts of indecent exposure related to incidents dating back to 21-22. And basically, here's a man who identifies as a woman and goes into the girls' changing room. And there were young girls, it doesn't say the age, but little girls, and they were traumatized because they, quote, saw a naked male in the female locker room. But, you know, one of the problems I have with this is in the coverage of this, Greene County in the town is Xenia, I guess it's pronounced Xenia City, Ohio. All the coverage says it's a trans woman. Well, it's not a woman, it's a man. But all of this attempt to legitimize and mainstream transgenderism, this is another example of sexual deviancy that is ultimately traumatizing to people. It's damaging to children. But here's the thing, and we'll get to this, it actually is eliminating women. And how this results in the eradication of women, we'll talk about in just a moment. But I want to bring a guest on right now. This is Mary Bawden, or Bawden. Mary, forgive my ambiguity about pronouncing your name. Is it Bawden?
Yeah, it's Bawden.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you and we had an interview maybe at NRB about a year ago. Does my memory serve me on that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, well,
I remember you.
Yeah, your ministry or website, danceawareness.com. Is that right? DANCE?
Yeah.
Yeah. Since we last talked, and we talked about the sexualization of children and how really the APA isn't really helping secular education. It's almost like they want children's innocence as thoroughly gone and as quickly gone as possible. Bring us up to speed about what, in your opinion, is going on in our culture and what Dance Awareness is doing to give a healthy response to what's being done to our children.
Well, I think your listeners should know there's been a cultural shift from healthy educational children's dance to harmful hypersexualized children's dance and adult costumes, choreography, and music. And they need to know that I'm a dance educator. I love dance. I have a BA and MA in dance. I led a church dance ministry for over 20 years. So this is someone that really enjoys movement because I think it's God's gift to us. But this shift has occurred, and I believe there's a connection to the internet, media, and porn. And, in 1983, the New York Times released an article called The Loss of Childhood, and in that article, they talked about children's innocence. And it wasn't that children had lost their innocence. It was that adults had redefined the definition of childhood itself. We'd gone from an age of protection, that is shielding kids from adult issues, to an age of preparation, that is exposing children to adult issues. The problem with that is the research shows then and now that this philosophy doesn't work. Imagine if I gave a 6-year-old child the keys to my car, a $5 bill, and said, drive to the market, get me a quart of milk and return. Well, you'd think I'd lost my mind. It's not that that child can never do that. It's just that right now it's not age appropriate. So we have the internet with this shift in how we view children. Then we have the media, and no one knew what was going to happen with the internet when it came out, but Congress passed in 1996 something called the Communications Decency Act. And basically they said there was no regulation for this new fledgling thing called the internet. Well, fast forward to 2023, and because of no regulation, we have all kinds of things happening on the internet which expose adults, but I'm circling my wagons around children, to issues they shouldn't be exposed to. And I'll be specific in terms of dance, that children are being exposed to hypersexualized dance and doing hypersexualized dance because the brain research says that we copy what we see. So adults are being groomed, and this is being normalized to give to children. Children are doing it. The problem is they're having traumatic outcomes when they're exposed to adult sexuality before it's age appropriate. In fact, I read an article just last week. Olivia Hussey and Leonard Whiting were in Romeo and Juliet as minors years ago. They were 15 and 16, and they just filed a lawsuit because they were made to be nude in a film then, and they said they've carried the trauma from that coercion with them today.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a brief break. Mary, I want to continue this conversation. There's so many things I want to really get your take on. Give us your website quickly, and we've got a brief break, and then we'll go further. What's your website?
danceawareness.com.
danceawareness.com. Folks, we need to care about children, and we need to care enough to speak truth, to be informed, and to be courageous, because our culture has lost its way morally and spiritually. Stay tuned. We're back after this.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
The credit card debt happened when my daughter was born. I was using one credit card account to roll over into another credit card account, and it was snowballing.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
When I first called Trinity, the representative understood the need based on the situation. They were great people to work with. From the first phone call that I made, they had me on a track to mitigate the credit card debt.
Trinity will consolidate your accounts into one easy-to-manage monthly payment, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
Working with Trinity gave me the ability to save thousands of dollars. My name's Doug, and thanks to Trinity, I'm debt-free for keeps.
Call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813. That's 1-800-788-1813.
Today marks the midpoint of our emphasis on marriage. This week I'm sharing 5 principles of the moral argument for marriage, since strong marriages yield strong families, and strong families yield strong nations. Hello, I'm Sam Rohr with the American Pastors Network and another Stand in the Gap Minute. First, marriage is God's idea. Second, biblical marriage is societal's foundational institution of authority. The third principle presumes one man and one woman, united and committed as one flesh before God. No other combination works in God's plan. Therefore, no government possesses the authority to legally alter or redefine marriage or family. It has no moral or jurisdictional authority to redefine marriage than to declare invalid natural law or declare moral such immoral actions as theft, murder, or rape. Will you join with us at Stand in the Gap Radio and TV and embrace, defend, and live out God's plan for marriage of one man and one woman? Visit us at AmericanPastorsNetwork.net.
Hello everyone, Tim Wildman. An update on our Spiritual Heritage Tours in June and September. We're over halfway full. In fact, I think we'll probably be full in March sometime. The likelihood is great. So if you want to go with us on our Spiritual Heritage Tour this year in June or September to Washington, D.C. and Mount Vernon, the home of George Washington, you need to go and visit our website so you can see the dates, the itinerary, the cost, everything you need to know at spiritualheritagetours.com. spiritualheritagetours.com. Now in September, we're also going to Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown. So we're going to do that trip in addition to the D.C. trip. So check it all out. June and September. Stephen McDowell, the Providence Foundation, will be with us. Go to the website spiritualheritagetours.com. spiritualheritagetours.com.
Shining light into the darkness. This is the Hamilton Corner on American Family Radio.
Welcome back to the program. Alex McFarland here. So honored to be with you on the Hamilton Corner on the American Family Radio Network. You know, I always appreciate anybody like myself. My wife and I have pretty much given our adult lives to youth ministry and also, to a degree, children's ministry. And whenever somebody shares that passion for not only the welfare of children, but thriving and spiritually, intellectually, physically becoming all that the Lord intended us to be, I appreciate those people who share those values, and certainly Mary Bawden does. DanceAwareness.com is her website. And before the break, we were talking about just some of the hypersexualization and some of the videos and inappropriate things that kids are exposed to. But you give not only positive alternatives, but I would say biblical alternatives. And Mary, one of the things that I appreciate about you is that in addition to just good common sense child rearing, you help reintroduce the church to the arts. And that's an important thing because for many centuries, the church was kind of the custodian of the arts and theater, wasn't it?
Yeah, and of course, the arts are God's idea. It's just when we come in there as self-based people and distort and change God's intent, then of course they don't have the same kinds of outcomes. And that's the same as what has happened in dance. So we just have to make sure we're in a healthy dance studio rather than a harmful one.
Sure, sure. Well, you know, several years ago there was twerking. And, you know, I still see, if it's not twerking, it's at least things that, you know, movements and gyrations that are inappropriate. And I've got to say, I was just in a store and I saw kids doing some actions that they could not possibly have known what they meant. I mean, they were way too young. But it just kind of grieved my heart to see kids acting, you know, illicit, immoral actions that it tells me they've lost their innocence before it was even there. I mean, never a time of childhood, never a time of innocent purity, but just sullied and tainted with the ways of the world at such an early age. I don't know that they would ever remember a time that they weren't, you know, exposed to such.
Yeah, we're making children into mini adults, and just as you said, we need children to be children. And actually, I have a simple definition of healthy dance that might be helpful to your listeners. In healthy dance, children look like children. In age-appropriate costumes, choreography, and music, usually accompanied by a great sense of joy. And in harmful dance, which is hypersexualized dance, children look like adults. In adult costumes, choreography, and music, usually accompanied by adult makeup and hairstyles. So I think what you saw and what you observed was harmful dance.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Well, speak to the person that the idea of Christian dance ministry might be just a brand new thing they've never thought of.
Well, I think anytime we do things with God's intent, which is wholesomeness according to his standards, it's Christian dance. Now, there are many healthy dance studios that are not, quote, Christian, although they might be. Some might be. I do know some Christian dance studios who would come under the umbrella of healthy dance. But there are many who are healthy dance studios who do not hypersexualize. So that's my dividing line. That parents, caring adults, have to make sure that they're checking out the dance environment for a particular child and checking into their philosophy on what kind of music, what kind of choreography, just what kinds of ingredients go into the process of creating a dance.
Mm-hmm. Well, where would a church start to do something healthy, dance, and I love what you said, movement, that God is the author of movement and, beauty and art. How could a church begin to start something? Because I was interim pastor of a church. You'll appreciate this perhaps, Mary, but we started a summer theater program, and we did. We did some Christian plays, but we did some, appropriate, like Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. We did some things that weren't necessarily Christian, but they were just good, wholesome theater plays.
There you go.
But by the second summer, we had 300 children and youth involved in a summer theater workshop. And of course, many joined the church, heard the gospel. But for a church that's never done something like this, how could they begin to get started?
Well, I think you have to have strong leadership. It sounds like you were a good leader, my friend.
Tried to be.
I've written a book on Christian dance ministry, if anybody's wanting to read that I think might be helpful. But, we have to know God's criteria to set up a program that's healthy, because our culture has turned standards upside down, and they've normalized distortion, and they've misused children, and they're innocent. So you have to have a group of adults who want to work with children who have a real clear foundation of God's intended standards. And then I think we do just fine, because the adults are the one making the choices on scripts, in your case. In my case, how we choreograph, how we dress young people, what are the lyrics to the song they're moving to. And so those things adults are to consider very carefully. And, children are children. They have no idea what's healthy or what's harmful. And so we can't look to them to make those choices, can we now? Just like we can't let children decide when they're going to have bedtime or what they're going to eat, because they might have chocolate cake every night and every breakfast and every lunch.
Right.
Because they're children, and they don't have any concept of health or harm.
Mary, is there any evidence that with all the sexualization, besides, actions or material viewed on the internet, what about things like age for sexual activity or loss of virginity? I mean, has all of this resulted in kids becoming sexually active at younger ages?
Well, I think, absolutely. In harmful dance, absolutely. Although it's not just dance, of course, it's our culture. A researcher named Gail Dines has called it a pornified culture, because sex has just saturated every area of everyone's life. And we see inappropriate exposure to sexuality every place. And so, of course, children see that, and it affects them. But when it affects them, there are negative outcomes, friend.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness, yes. And you know what? I think that in churches, because, listen, there's the home and the church, and there are Christian schools, and there are private schools and classical education. But, folks, listen, to rein in the relativism, and that's really making our own truth. And then there's really hedonism, living for pleasure as we define it. And then, as you say, Mary, this hypersexualization and loss of innocence. It's got to be the church that really calls people back to truth. I would say calls people back to sanity. Go ahead.
I agree.
I've got a question for you.
I think that sometimes the church looks at the culture and copies it instead of the other way around. And so we have to be careful what we invite into our homes and expose our kids to. Sometimes it's the culture dictating our standards. And so this calls for people to really reflect and think. And, of course, God has given us the ability to do that with informed choice. And that's what he did in Genesis when he said to Adam and Eve, you can do anything you want in the garden here, except you have to not touch this particular tree. So he gave them choice, and of course we all know how that turned out. They made the wrong choice. So it's just important to identify these issues with awareness. We can't address what we don't have the courage to name, then make informed choices, and by that I mean healthy or harmful dance for their children. And then we have to educate the adults around us. And we have plenty of practical tools on danceawareness.com to do that. And in fact, Alex, I should let you know, if you go to danceawareness.com, there's a heading called She Loves to Move. I worked with a wonderful composer who composed a song that we released, and this is going on right now, and we're inviting anybody to choreograph to it, and we have a prize of $5,000. I'm going to say that again.
Oh, my goodness. For the best video, right?
Yeah, for the best choreography. We have a wonderful dance educator who is adjudicating the process. We have a rubric online on our website so that people know, kind of have an idea of what we're looking for. But this could be grandparents and their grandkids. It could be somebody taking a dance class and wants to do a solo. It could be a whole group of kids who want to enter our contest, which is, by the way, for free, and choreograph something to healthy dance, because the song is beautiful. It invites just wonderful feelings. I think you'd be surprised if you play it. Call it, again, She Loves to Move. And so we're trying to help people see the differences between healthy dance and harmful dance.
Well, amen. That is wonderful. That is really wonderful. And do you have any events around the country that you bring people together and, they can be inspired and equipped and take this back to their communities?
Well, actually, that's what we're doing with She Loves to Move. We're going to be getting those videos that people enter the contest, and we're going to be doing a lot more of releasing wonderful, beautiful material that's healthy and certainly not harmful or hypersexualized, so that people really see the difference. And then our company is fairly new, but I do anticipate us having a wonderful dance concert every year with healthy dance.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever noticed how when Halloween comes around, and I know most Christians probably don't get involved in Halloween, but it's almost like the costumes that are sold, they'll take childhood images, even like there's a hyper sexualized Mr. Rogers costume now. I mean, what could have been more childlike than, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? There have long since been, borderline pornographic, like Mary Poppins and, Cinderella and things like that. But now even like Mr. Rogers, why does the world have to pornify everything? I mean, is nothing sacred? Why do you feel like people just have to go there?
Well, I think we have to understand as Christians that the Bible says Satan is the prince of this world. So he's working behind the scenes to distort and ruin everything beautiful and good. And so we see Mr. Rogers costumes, or we see Cinderella. Instead of a fun thing, it's turned into a hypersexualized woman's costume. Again, translating that, if you open your eyes to really what's happening in our culture, making children into mini adults, and of course that's connected to businesses making money off of this. And see, it goes to younger and younger ages because children are vulnerable, right? And so they don't have any ability to know right from wrong. They need strong adults to help them. And we're really not stepping up to the plate and really saying no more. So I would invite your listeners to, in a respectful way, because shouting matches seem to be counterproductive, but say, this is wrong. This is wrong. We cannot allow a child to be exposed to these kinds of things, whether it's a Mr. Rogers or a Cinderella costume, or being choreographed in hypersexualized songs that have terrible lyrics with little people at younger and younger ages, 6 years old, 5 years old, and younger now, because they're vulnerable, and predators love that, and the porn industry loves that. They're making all kinds of money off of this, and we need to have adults that will say, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to push back in a respectful way, and we're going to articulate both the spiritual problems, but for those people who have friends and neighbors who aren't Christians, there's plenty of research on danceawareness.com to back up what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. In fact, we are research-based.
Well, I know that, and I love what your subtitle is, No Child Exploited. That's
awareness, no child exploited.
That's powerful. Well, listen, I want to thank you for being on. I'm sorry we got started a little bit late. But the contest, again, where can people go to find out about the contest you're a part of?
danceawareness.com. Go right to the website. You look at the top headings. You'll see it right there. It says She Loves to Move. You click on that, and they'll tell you all about what to do. It's all free. They'll let you hear the song, so you can, and you're going to be blown away. I will already tell you, you will love the song. There's also kind of a 58-second little video ad about the contest and who's invited, which everybody's invited. And it's filled with joy and fun, which is what movement should do for people.
Exactly. Hey, we've got a break. We got to pull away. Mary, I look forward to when you and I can converse again. Hey, will you be at NRB like you were the other year?
I sure will.
We will see you there, I am certain. God bless you.
Okay.
Folks, Alex McFarland here on the American Family Radio Network, sitting in for Abe Hamilton. When we come back, I'm going to open up the phones, and the number is 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. How is the hypersexualization of our culture actually jeopardizing sexuality and gender? Stay tuned. We'll talk about this and more when we return.
Dr. Gene Getz is a well-known author, church planter, pastor, and seminary professor, but long COVID almost ended his life. This weekend on Encouragement Live, Dr. Getz joins host Don Hawkins to share about his 8-month hospitalization and to offer encouragement to those who have been impacted by COVID. Encouragement Live airs Saturday at 7:05 p.m. Central here on American Family Radio.
G'day, this is Joel with For King and Country, and I'm very aware that many of us have a friend or a neighbor or a loved one who struggles with substance abuse, and I want to pass on this message to you or to your friend. There is a way out.
I was finally engaged and ready to slow down, and the alcohol wasn't. I couldn't put it down. I heard her say over and over again that if you continue to drink, I'm leaving, and I just took it for granted until the one day that she actually left. I figured as long as I could stay drunk, I could put off the shame, the regret, and I felt no hope for me. Since coming to Teen Challenge, all of that has changed. I am here for a purpose, and God is going to use me for something. And with Jesus on my side, I am finally going to be able to live a life that I can be proud of.
So if you or a loved one is ready to end an addiction, Adult and Teen Challenge can help. You can call them toll-free at 1-855-END-ADDICTION or visit them online at teenchallengeusa.org.
Making abortion unthinkable. This is David Wheaton, host of The Christian Worldview. Roe v. Wade may have been overturned, but the abortion movement has redoubled their efforts to expand it through state legislatures. While political and legal battles are necessary, persuading hearts and minds that abortion should be unthinkable, similar to the way many view smoking, is even more effective. Start with the truth of Psalm 139. For you formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Declaring that it's always wrong to intentionally murder a human being before or after birth. Hear our most recent program on what Christians can do in the face of an increasingly radical abortion movement at thechristianworldview.org, and then tune in this weekend as we discuss the popular series, The Chosen.
Listen to The Christian Worldview with David Wheaton, Saturday mornings at 8 Central on American Family Radio.
Hello, Americans. I'm Todd Starnes. Stand by for news and commentary next.
Take advantage of the warmer weather and come explore Liberty University's campus, ranked number 4 best college campus in America by Niche.com. Join us for Experience LU, an all-day event that shows off our dorm rooms, classrooms, and award-winning dining hall. Or, if you're short on time, attend a 4-hour student-led campus tour to hit the highlights. To learn more or schedule your visit to Liberty University, text Visit LU to 49596. Again, that's Visit LU to 49596.
Several of San Francisco's finest dropped by Pizza Squared for a slice the other day, but instead of getting a pepperoni with extra cheese, the officers were told to get lost. A worker at Pizza Squared told the officers they were not welcome and they would not be served. The San Francisco Police Officers Union condemned what they called shameful and hateful actions of the worker. The pizzeria's owner was horrified by what happened, fired the worker, who happened to be a trainee, on his third and last day. The union said they appreciated the owner's swift apology. Over the years, a number of coffee houses and diners have refused to serve police, a nasty side effect of the Black Lives Matter movement. Some of those establishments have since gone out of business, proving once you go woke, you go broke. I'm taking a group of listeners to the Holy Land in November. If you'd like information, go to toddstarnes.com.
The Hamilton Quarter podcast and 1-minute commentaries are available at afr.net. Back to the Hamilton Quarter on American Family Radio.
So welcome back to the program. If you would choose to call in and engage in the conversation, I would love to hear from you. The number is 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Alex McFarland here, honored to be sitting in for Abe Hamilton, attorney, pastor, commentator, Abe Hamilton. It really is a privilege to sit in on the show, and a great crew and staff that helps us do this. And by the way, Abe is one of our keynote speakers at the Spring 23 Truth for a New Generation Biblical Worldview Conference. We're going to be in Paris, Tennessee, April 21 through 23. Abe Hamilton III, Will and Mickey Addison, myself, Bert Harper of Exploring the Word. A lot of great stuff. And the theme is this: truth matters. Truth matters, confronting the issues that will shape our future. The website for this conference is truthforanewgeneration.com, truthforanewgeneration.com. We'd love to have you there. But the question is, how is the hypersexualization of children and the imposing of transgenderism eliminating women? If you want to weigh in on that, you want to talk about this, transgender enforcement that seems to be going on, not seems to be, really is going on. The number is 888-589-8840. So I opened up with a news story out of Xenia, Ohio. And this man, who identifies as a woman, at the Y, goes into a girl's changing room. Well, there are girls in there, and he exposes himself. So he's from 21 and 22. He's facing criminal charges for doing this. But when the Y, now you think about this, when the YWCA is asked, and the YMCA, if they're going to begin to enforce that if you're a genetic male, you stay in the male restroom and male changing room. If you're a genetic female. Of course, like we've said, it is generally only the males that are wanting to do this. Now, I'm sure there are other cases, but, it's males that are going in female changing rooms. Here's what the Y said. Now listen to this, quote, "Under no circumstances will we investigate an individual's birth identity and then assign individuals to locker rooms." Now, isn't that something? Now, under the auspices of inclusion, diversity, tolerance, I mean, here children and youth, and really anybody with any moral sensibilities, are getting put at risk. Now, I would think the Y, and by the way, you do know the YMCA and the YWCA originally, the Young Men's Christian Association and the Young Women's Christian Association, they really trace their origin back to the great Christian leader of the 19th century, D.L. Moody. And then 20 plus years ago under Patricia Ireland, you remember Patricia Ireland was leader at one point of the NOW, the National Organization of Women, which is a very leftist, pro-feminist, pro-abortion organization. And for a very brief while, Patricia Ireland was leader of the YWCA. I don't know if you remember that. And she said in an interview, and then she was kind of silenced on this, but she said part of her goal was to, quote, get rid of the letter C, which was Christian. But, I mean, think about this. An entity, you've got, whether it be, a gym, a workout, a business where you go to work out, or the YWCA, one would think they have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that males don't go in the female changing room. Because here's the thing, you think about this. And by the way, if you want to be a part of this conversation, what's your take on this transgenderism, just the insistence that transgender be mainstreamed? It's terrible. Because, and folks, this is not, lest anybody says to you, well, don't impose your religion on me. The idea that males and females are different is not a religious presupposition. Jesus is the Son of God. That's a religious statement. Biological males and biological females are different. Children ought not be exposed to naked men. These are not religious presuppositions. This is human biology and common sense and moral sensibility. But we're going to talk more about how transgenderism, which you would think the feminists would stand against it, because it really is resulting in the elimination of female as a category. It's interesting. We're going to go to Rufus in Texas. Rufus, thanks for holding. Welcome to the Hamilton
Thank
Corner.
You.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very excited to speak to you guys, and thank you very much for bringing up this topic today, because especially the church has failed. Christians in general are failing. We're bowing down to the culture, just like you were talking with the previous lady about the culture, and the culture has become part of the church. For example, we had a church around our area here in Texas. As a matter of fact, we still have that church around. We had to fly the gay flag in front of the LGBTQ plus whatever flag in front of the church. And this church had a drag show. Yes, this church had a drag show. They hold drag shows for children. Every other month. There was a time, sometime last year, they had this drag show for children, and we had a few people come out there to protest against that, because that's exploitation of children. You see, and this is being done. This is being done under the guise of the church, you know, and in the name of inclusion and diversity, we having all these things going on in the church, you know, and then now.
I got to ask, what was the reaction? I mean, from the church members of the community. I mean, was there any kind of pushback on this?
Yeah. There was some pushback from the community because that's just. I mean, think about it. 20 years ago from today, we would never have thought that we'll be experiencing something like this in America. You know,
I know. You're right.
Exactly. To a point where we don't even know what a woman is anymore. Nobody can, even the church, most churches, when you ask the pastor to define what a woman is, because he's so scared to lose congregation, he's so scared to offend the mob, the culture, he can't even define what a woman is.
I know, and Rufus, think about this too. Here's the thing. Oddly enough, the feminists of the 70s, the feminist movement, you know, pro-women, okay? But look, with transgenderism, you've got biological males that are being insisted upon playing in women's sports. And look, thank God for females. Thank God for males. They're equal in worth, but they're unique in function. Look, no, females are not able to physically withstand the strength, the stamina, the upper body strength of males. I mean, this is essentially the elimination of women's sports, exclusively female, and it's the elimination of women. Folks, do you understand? If gender is fluid, then women as an objective category is eliminated. And so it's a puzzlement to any logical person why feminists would be for transgenderism when it really means the end of feminism. Rufus, thanks for the call. Kathy in Arkansas. Kathy, thanks for holding. Welcome to AFR. What's your take on this subject, the trans agenda?
Can you hear me okay, Alex?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, great. It's very disturbing. I'm from Arkansas, as you just stated, and thankfully we have a conservative Christian governor and a conservative overall legislature. And today, the bathroom bill was passed, H.R. 1158, I think it was.
Okay.
But
and what is the base? What's that bill say?
The bathroom bill is that biological boys will use boys' bathrooms, and biological females will use girls' bathrooms in our schools, in our public charter schools and our public schools. And it just astonished me, just the testimony given. We can watch everything live on live stream, you know, of what's going on in the committees and the House and everything.
Right.
And it just is so sad that there are people that want to acknowledge that people can change their sex. Is just unbelievable.
So let me ask you this. So the bathroom bill in Arkansas, and this is a good thing, but I'm guessing the lefties are having an aneurysm.
Yeah, but thankfully, it passed today, or it passed today in the Senate. It passed in the Senate, in the House Senate. It passed. It came out of committee in the House of Representatives, so it was voted on today, and it passed. 80 people voted yes. Some people abstained. There were a few no's. But it's just really sad. I live in Little Rock, so it's just really sad that my state representative would vote against the bathroom bill, and our state senator that represents us. But it's so important for people to get involved, to know who their state legislators are, you know, in the Senate and the House, and to write them before a vote, and then write them after a vote nicely, or to introduce yourself. I'm going to eventually try to introduce myself to mine. But, Alex, to me, the bigger deal with all this transgenderism is it's so sinister and evil. I just wonder. I think it's all about the destruction of the nuclear family. I think it even goes more sinister than that. I think there are these globalist elite people who want population control. And what better way to control the population than sterilizing our children? Confuse them. Just, you know,
right.
and it's just,
Kathy, we're about out of time, and I want to say thank you for this. And, folks, let me give you a final thought here. By the way, I want to ask people, 20 years of radio, I've never had this happen, but I want to ask people to pray for Patricia in Michigan. We had a caller that was calling in, and she was driving, and while waiting to go on air, hit a deer. Patricia in Michigan, I am so sorry. And, folks, pray for Patricia. I really don't know the status of this, but let me see this. We might have time to get one more comment in. Folks, our country, though, is based on natural law. This goes back for the duration of human history. Natural law and the laws of nature, that there are male and female. And all of the spin and marketing in the world cannot change reality. Gloria in North Carolina, welcome. Thanks for holding. What you got, Gloria?
Hello. Thank you so much. Y'all are awesome. Hey, I've got a solution. I think it's very simple. Male, female, and other. 3 teams. My daughters played on sports teams all their life. I played softball till I was 32 years old. Very proud of it. I did play on a Christian, male and female team. However, there is a difference in a male and a female. I grew up with 3 boys. I have 3. So just let there be 3 groups. If the Olympics want to support 3 groups, the transgender, have at it. But a male should not compete against the female. Even though I did it all my life with 3 brothers, there is a huge difference.
Right. In a world of sanity, maybe they would do that. Gloria, that's a good thought. But here's the thing, folks. We have to help people understand if we abolish morality, and all of this goes back to the sexual revolution of the 60s, then abortion on demand, no legal protection for the unborn, then this enforced idea that there is no difference between male and female. Look, males are biologically, functionally different than females. And males and females, gender is fixed. Look, it jeopardizes our freedom, our Constitution. It jeopardizes children and women. Folks, we've got to stand for truth. Alex McFarland here. May God bless you. Thanks for listening. You can listen again. All the shows are archived at afr.net. May God bless you. May God equip you to stand for truth. And may God help and bless America.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association.